So picture this. Somewhere in the world right now, there is a factory worker who is completely ignoring the official company manual.
Oh, absolutely. It happens every single day.
Right. And the crazy part is the company is actually way better off for it.
Because that worker knows what they're doing.
Exactly. I mean, maybe they've been on the assembly line for like 20 years.
Yeah.
They know the machinery far better than the engineers who wrote the rules in some sterile office a decade ago.
Yeah, they've got the muscle memory.
Right. They know exactly how to coax a stubborn, multi-million-dollar turbine into running smoothly by tweaking a valve just a fraction of an inch differently than the standard operating procedure dictates.
It's those little physical hacks that keep the whole plant humming.
But what happens tomorrow when that worker retires?
Well, they pack up their locker, turn in their badge, and walk out.
And all that unwritten brilliance simply vanishes.
Just walks right out the door.
It does. But today, we are looking at a stack of sources that suggest a completely new paradigm for all of this. We have a fresh press release and some really detailed white paper excerpts from EON AI Ventures and EON Reality.
Dated today, actually. June 9th, 2026.
Right. And the mission of our deep dive today is to explore EON's newly announced system. It's called Compound IQ. And it's basically a technology designed to, well, steal that unwritten knowledge back and make sure it never leaves the building.
Yeah, the core problem they identify right at the top of these documents is that conventional training is fundamentally a one-time static event.
Right, you get hired, you read the binder.
Exactly. You get the binder, maybe you do a few weeks of shadowing, and from that point on, the institutional knowledge just decays.
Wow, yeah.
The company as an entity never actually learns from the worker's ongoing day-to-day experience. So EON's entire premise with Compound IQ is to abandon that one-way pipeline.
Okay, let's unpack this. How are they doing that?
They want to replace it with what they call a self-reinforcing intelligence flywheel.
Intelligence Flywheel.
Right. It's a system where industrial knowledge acts like a financial asset. It actually appreciates in value after every single shift.
Think about your own job for a second. How many workarounds do you use every day that aren't in your official job description?
Oh, dozens. At least.
We'll all do it. I like to think of standard industrial procedures kind of like an old family recipe.
Okay, I like that analogy.
So the written recipe, the official procedure, says, bake at 350 degrees for 45 minutes.
Sure.
But the grandmother who has been cooking it for 4 decades always adds a secret pinch of salt. Or maybe she skips a completely redundant stirring step because she just knows it works better that way in the real world.
And the final product is vastly superior because of it.
Right, because of her unwritten deviations from the official text.
Well, in the industrial sector, EON actually uses a very specific term for that secret pinch of salt.
Oh, really? What is it?
They call it the delta.
The delta.
Yeah, it is the quantifiable gap between the written procedure and what actually happens at the equipment.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the source text explicitly argues that this discrepancy, this delta, is literally the single most valuable piece of data in the entire industrial world.
Wow.
Historically, if a supervisor happened to notice a worker doing something clever, maybe they jot it down on a clipboard. But usually that data is just lost to the ether.
Right. It isn't codified. It isn't shared with the night shift or the factory 3 states over.
Exactly.
But okay, I understand the theory here. But let's talk about the physical reality of a chaotic, noisy factory floor.
Yeah, it's messy.
How does a company even begin to capture a secret pinch of salt at scale? I mean, if a worker is just quietly doing their job a little bit differently, you can't exactly pause a live manufacturing line to have them fill out a survey detailing their brilliant new wrenching technique.
No, you definitely can't. And that operational hurdle is exactly why EON relies on something they call discrepancy telemetry.
Discrepancy telemetry.
Right. To capture the delta, you need a system constantly observing the physical work as it happens and comparing it in real time to the baseline model.
Wow. Constantly observing.
Dan Lajerskar, he's the founder and chairman of EON AI Ventures. He actually outlines this perfectly in the text. He says, most companies try to capture the procedure. We capture the gap between the procedure and reality.
Oh, that's a great quote. Capturing the gap.
Right. They aren't interested in digitizing some dusty manual. They are digitizing the physical difference between that manual and the expert's actual bodily movements.
Okay, so let's break down the mechanics of how this new product, Compound IQ, actually processes that gap.
Sure.
According to the white paper, this isn't happening while the worker is actively turning the wrench. Compound IQ operates as a nightly batch
Okay,
process.
overnight.
So while the factory is quiet, or maybe just during a shift change, a separate orchestration system called Conductor fires up Compound IQ.
Right.
And then the system reads discrepancy records and what the text calls XAPI telemetry from a learning record store. But let's pause on XAPI telemetry for a second, because that sounds like total alphabet soup.
It does.
What are we actually talking about here in plain English?
We are essentially talking about digital breadcrumbs of human movement.
Breadcrumbs. Okay.
Yeah. XAPI telemetry, in this context, it refers to raw, highly specific spatial data.
Spatial data, like 3D space.
Exactly. It records the exact coordinates of where a worker's hands went, the angle they held a tool, how long they paused before flipping a switch, and even where their eyes were looking.
That is incredibly detailed.
It is. Compound IQ gathers all these spatial breadcrumbs, which are captured by another tool called Assess IQ, by the way, and it aggregates them per site and per specific procedure.
So the system is just like drinking in massive amounts of spatial data every night.
Gallons of it.
But wait, capturing all those tiny deviations creates a massive new problem, right? You now have mountains of chaotic data. How do you sift through that to find what is actually useful?
That's the challenge.
Because I'm putting myself in the shoes of a plant safety manager right now, and I see a glaring vulnerability.
Oh, the rogue worker scenario.
Exactly. Let's say a worker is actively ignoring the safety manual by skipping a critical pressure check because, it saves them 5 minutes and lets them take an early lunch.
Right.
That worker is going to leave a spatial breadcrumb trail of a highly efficient but incredibly dangerous shortcut.
Very dangerous.
We definitely do not want an AI blindly updating the official company rules to match that rogue behavior.
No, you've hit on the critical failure point of early automation, and the documents are very, very clear on how EON engineered around this exact issue.
Okay, good.
Compound IQ does not blindly accept every deviation it sees. When it reviews the nightly data batch, it filters everything through a really rigorous classification system.
So it sorts them.
Right. The AI's first job is to separate the safe, repeated divergences from the unsafe anomalies.
But I'm stuck on how the AI actually knows the difference between a genius shortcut and a fatal error.
Yeah, how does it know?
Like, how does the architecture prevent it from codifying a safety violation?
It looks for consensus and safety framing.
Consensus.
Yeah. If multiple experienced workers across different shifts are all safely performing a task in a slightly different, more efficient way, and doing it without triggering any environmental alarms or safety thresholds, the system recognizes a pattern.
Oh, I see.
It flags that as a safe divergence, right?
Yeah.
A better real-world practice than the written baseline.
Okay.
And then those safe divergences become proposed refinements to what they call the Genesis twin.
And in Genesis Twin, just to clarify for everyone listening, that's EON's term for the master digital copy of the procedure.
Right.
It's basically the 3D hologram version of the company rulebook.
Correct.
Yeah.
But if we go back to your example, the worker skipping the pressure check, the system recognizes that a mandatory safety parameter was completely ignored.
It sees the missing step.
Right. That is immediately classified as an unsafe divergence, and the system's reaction flips.
What does it do?
Instead of proposing an update to the master rulebook, that unsafe divergence triggers a targeted, automatic micro-lesson sent directly to that specific worker.
Wow, so it catches them in the act, basically.
And it sends an alert to their supervisor. The system flags the risk to prevent an accident, rather than institutionalizing the bad habit.
That's wild. But even for the good ideas, the safe divergences, there have to be serious guardrails.
Oh, absolutely.
A proposed refinement doesn't just automatically rewrite the company rulebook overnight, right? It has to be verified by a tool called EON Verdict before it is allowed to update the digital twin.
Verdict is the gatekeeper.
Right. And every approved change is written back with full versioning and rollback capabilities.
Just in case.
Yeah, if an update turns out to be a mistake next week, they can instantly revert to the previous version, kind of like restoring an old save file on a computer.
And that heavy governance makes total sense when you remember the stakes in heavy industry. Compound IQ is powerful, but reading through these white papers, it becomes clear that it's really just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Right.
EON actually refers to this entire interconnected loop as the Human 2.0 OS, or H2O.
H2O. Nice branding. But instead of just listing off the different proprietary names EON uses for all the parts of this H2O system, let's track the life cycle of a single piece of data.
Walk through it. I like that.
Yeah, let's follow the story of a specific physical shortcut to see how this intelligence flywheel actually spins in the real world.
Okay.
So, imagine we have a veteran technician, and she figures out how to recalibrate a complex hydraulic sensor in half the normal time by adjusting two dials simultaneously instead of sequentially.
Happens all the time.
How does her physical motion actually become the new company-wide policy?
Well, it starts with observation. Before she even makes her shortcut, the baseline procedure has to exist in the system.
The Genesis twin.
Exactly. EON uses a tool called Genesis 3 to watch an expert perform the original task just once, turning that physical demonstration into a governed 3D step-by-step digital procedure. Then another system, called Scenario Factory, scales that up. It authors thousands of variations overnight to cover the entire plant.
Okay, so once that baseline is established, has to be delivered to the workers on the floor.
Right.
And this is where Field IQ and Brainy come in. They deliver these 3D procedures directly into the field via smart glasses.
Smart glasses, yes.
So our veteran technician is wearing these glasses, and the baseline procedure pops up right in her field of vision.
Giving her the standard instructions.
Right, but here's the critical moment. She ignores the prompt. She uses her simultaneous dial-turning shortcut instead.
And while she does that, the smart glasses are actively running Assess IQ. This system uses multi-camera spatial capture to verify what she's doing.
It's watching her hands.
Yes. It records the delta. It sees that her hands are moving differently than the 3D model suggested, but it also sees she successfully completed the calibration without triggering any alarms.
Okay.
That discrepancy data is saved.
Then the night shift rolls around. The factory floor is quiet. Conductor, the system manager we talked about earlier, wakes up Compound IQ.
The flywheel starts spinning.
Right. Compound IQ analyzes the spatial data of her shortcut. It sees that she saved time, it cross-references the data to ensure it was safe, and it proposes rewriting the baseline procedure to match her new method.
And finally, before that new method goes live to every other worker in the plant, it hits the final safeguard verdict and the integrity suite.
The gatekeepers again.
Yep. This system issues a digital passport for the new procedure, verifying it and logging it into a provable trust ledger.
A trust ledger.
Right. So the next morning, when a brand new hire puts on their smart glasses to recalibrate that exact same sensor, they're guided to do it using the veteran's shortcut.
That's incredible.
The physical motion of one expert has successfully been transformed into institutional intelligence overnight.
You know, looking at how heavily this process relies on smart glasses and special data, EON's background really comes into focus.
Oh, definitely.
The text points out that EON Reality and EON AI Ventures bring 25 years of immersive learning and extended reality experience to this.
25 years.
They aren't trying to capture data with keyboards or touchscreens. They are analyzing human movement in three-dimensional space, which, honestly, is really the only way to capture industrial work.
You have to.
You can't teach someone how to properly torque a bolt on a high-pressure valve with a multiple-choice quiz.
No, you need to capture the physics of the task. But giving an AI the power to rewrite physical industrial procedures based on spatial data introduces a massive risk factor.
Oh, a huge risk.
In an office setting, if a generative AI writes a clunky marketing email, you lose some face. If an industrial AI gives the wrong instructions on how to mix volatile chemicals or lock out a high-voltage electrical panel,
You lose lives.
exactly, people get hurt.
And the source material addresses this head-on. EON explicitly states that generic AI tools that deliver 80% quality are completely useless in operations that require 100% accuracy.
80% isn't good enough.
Not at all. They point out that a confidently wrong AI on a safety-critical step is the ultimate nightmare scenario.
It really is.
To prevent that, they've baked 3 specific safety guarantees directly into the architecture of this H2O system. Let's dig into how these actually function. Starting with guarantee number 1, it checks itself first.
Right.
The text mentions independent adversarial agents. How does an AI actively try to prove itself wrong?
Think of it like a legal trial or a team of white hat hackers.
Oh, okay.
In cybersecurity, companies hire elite hackers to try and break into their own software to find the weak points before release. EON's system does this internally with AI models.
So they hack themselves.
Basically, one AI proposes a new procedure based on the worker's shortcut. Then, an entirely separate adversarial AI model is given one objective, find a reason why this new step is dangerous or inefficient.
Oh, wow.
It stress tests the logic against known physics and safety parameters. Only the procedures that survive that internal adversarial attack are allowed to be published.
That's fascinating. And then guarantee number 2 is that it asks when unsure.
Yes.
EON claims that on safety-critical steps, the system is programmed not to bluff.
No hallucinations allowed.
Right. If there is ambiguity in the data, say the cameras couldn't quite see exactly how the worker turned the valve, the system physically halts the update process.
It just stops.
It refuses to guess and instantly escalates the issue, calling a human expert to review the footage and make the final call.
Which naturally leads to guarantee number 3. Everything is on the record.
The audit trail.
Exactly. Every action, every automated proposal, and every human override is fully logged and reversible. And crucially, the system maps all these actions to strict real-world safety frameworks.
Right. The text specifically calls out ATEX, API, and OSHA.
Yeah, let's quickly define those for you listening. OSHA is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration in the U.S., setting general workplace safety laws.
Very common.
Right. ATEX refers to the strict European directives for controlling explosive atmospheres, meaning places where a single spark could ignite chemicals in the air.
Yikes. Okay.
And API is the American Petroleum Institute, which sets the rigorous mechanical standards for the oil and gas industry.
So the AI is constantly checking its proposed updates against these massive, legally binding rule books to ensure it remains audit-ready.
Exactly. When you synthesize those 3 guarantees, the underlying philosophy of the architecture is really clear. The AI is doing the heavy lifting of gathering and analyzing the data, but it never gets the final say on its own if a step could hurt someone.
The human remains the ultimate arbiter of safety.
Always.
So let's zoom out and look at the ultimate value proposition for everyone listening. The era of the static manual, the dusty binder sitting on a shelf that nobody reads until something catches on fire, that era is coming to an end.
It's over.
We are moving toward a reality where the baseline of your company's operations gets smarter and sharper every single night automatically.
It's a huge shift. And for organizations looking to deploy this, the immediate news from the press release is that Compound IQ enters limited pilot availability today, June 9th, 2026.
Right, today.
Yes, it is being rolled out as part of a 90-day H2O engagement. However, they are tightly controlling the release.
Makes sense.
Cohort 1 is limited strictly to 10 anchor industrial enterprises. They are starting with specific per-site refinements and handling the unsafe divergence alerts first before they eventually move toward cross-customer compounding.
It's just a staggering leap forward in how we treat institutional memory.
It really is.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over on your own.
Uh-oh, here we go.
We spent this entire conversation exploring how Compound IQ captures human ingenuity, that secret pinch of salt from the best workers to improve the baseline for everyone else. But think about the long-term trajectory of a flywheel like this. If a system is constantly tweaking and perfecting our physical procedures based on the data of the absolute best workers, do we eventually reach a plateau of perfect mathematical efficiency? Oh, wow. And if we do reach that point of perfect AI-governed efficiency, does there come a day where human workers are no longer allowed to diverge from the smart glasses at all?
They just have to follow the rigid, perfect path.
Exactly. In our relentless quest to capture human ingenuity, might we accidentally engineer a future where there is simply no room left for it to happen?
That is a profound paradox. I mean, we are deploying a massive computational power to learn from human adaptation, but the ultimate logical endpoint of that system is to eliminate the need for adaptation altogether.
Just something to think about the next time you decide to ignore the manual and just, figure it out yourself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.